My name's Athena. I'm the Volunteer Engagement Coordinator here at CASA Sacramento. And with me today, I have California Youth Connection. My question for you, did you ever have a CASA or did you ever have anyone in your corner?
I had a CASA name since I was 17. A nice, sweet old guy. But when we first met, I didn't really like him at first. But later on, I started to like him, and then we started taking off the mask. So he has taught me a lot. If I could learn how to swim, and they pay for my swimming classes, he'll take me to the movies sometimes, or out to eat if I haven't eaten yet. And we walk around and spend time together.
My casa was good.
Mm-hmm.
She was an Asian lady, a
Mm-hmm.
little small Asian lady,
Mm-hmm.
around 30, with a Prius and two
Mm-hmm.
kids, and um, she'd take me to movie theaters every week or something, anything I wanted to do. Really, she would take me. But I heard there were some kids whose casa would just take them to McDonald's and then drop them off. So I had like a very good casa. It would take me to like the Palladio, or like they give you food while you're watching the movies. She also just told me like a lot about like life and a lot of like life lessons and things to remember. And she helped me with school. She helped me with my homework, helped me get my grades, give me a Starbucks and stuff like that. And she was very helpful. And then I had another casa after I turned 18, because I guess you could still get casas after that. And she was amazing.
Tell me a little bit about
And
that CASA.
then the next casa,
Yeah.
she was great too. So she helped me when I was getting into my apartment. She helped me advocate to get because basically with the EA Family Services, you had to go to Ashley's Furniture's first to go get your furniture. And so she was with me every time I went to Ashley's Furniture to go over there. She was with me, helping me out, getting bedding, getting stuff for my birthday, filling out the apartment, getting the couch, and getting everything that from Ashley's Furniture, and just being overall really good. Teaching me like life lessons to this day. I still talk to her about like what I should do in certain situations.
Supportive mentors are really a critical resource to a young person that's navigating the child welfare system, because the child welfare system is confusing. It's especially confusing for people that have never been in it, but even more confusing when you're a child growing up in that. And I can tell the difference. I can literally see the difference when a young person I've been working with has a CASA and doesn't have a CASA. Um, or like, there's young people that I've worked with that maybe didn't have a CASA when I first met them, and then over time got one. And I can see how just having one more additional mentor, one more additional person checking up on this young person, really just makes a difference in their trajectory and outcomes. Yeah, because that's hard to come by when you're growing up in foster care, is people that are invested in you, that are invested in your growth, that are going to be there for you when you're not feeling it, and challenge you to step out of your comfort zone, or just be that consistent person for you when you are experiencing many transitions at once, or even speak up for you when you are in that very overwhelming situation of all the adults around you dictating what direction your life is going to go in without any consideration into how you feel about it, and it's your life. So CASAs are very, very, very important.
How important is representation for you?
A lot of times people come into this work and their heart is in the right place, and they want to help, and they want to be a resource to their community, but unfortunately are operating from a place of assumptions because of a lack of exposure, or a lack of proximity to Black or African American people. And that gap can be very challenging to overcome as a young person, especially. And I don't want to speak for young on behalf of young men. I'm an older sister, so I can speak from what I've seen. I find that young Black men are treated like adults. This is scientifically proven, though. um, that they are adultified. They are looked at as being older than they are. People have like higher expectations for independence from them. The list goes on and on. And it gets more and more extreme, to the point that young Black men are less, especially child welfare involvement, less likely to graduate from high school, less likely to get enrolled in college. more likely to end up incarcerated or having dangerous or negative interactions with the police. We're operating within a system. The system is made up of people, but it's still a system. So it's like you're navigating it on two fronts. You're navigating this like paperwork level of things that doesn't see you as a whole person, and you're dealing with people that, instead of dealing with you as a person, as an individual, from one human to another, they're continuing to enable the system to almost dehumanize you in that sense. And when you're working within a system that was not built for the well-being of black people specifically, the child welfare system has a lot of racist roots. That is the reality. And even the prevalence of black and brown involvement within the child welfare system, and the fact that so many black families are targeted by CPS or have a being overrepresented in child welfare cases. A lot of that has historic roots in systemic racism. And so if we don't challenge that as individuals working within the system, we are going to continue to enable and empower the system to continue operating that way. And the system is going to get the results that it's going to get, its intended result. It may not be the intention of anybody individually working within the system, but the system itself was not intended to support and nurture a young person. People are supposed to do that.
I do feel like there was a disconnect though with the whole race thing not being and stuff like that, but they did like help me, and also just really helped like knowing that there was going to be someone on that court date with me that I know was going to be like look to or like help me with like my things that I had to do, whatever the things they have you do at court when you have to like fill out and stuff like that. Like, what are your goals? It was also just nice to have someone in the court that I knew was going to be there, help me out and stuff like that, and also talk and just for advocacy too. Is like a great cause. It's great for advocacy and advocating for the kids and the youth and stuff like that. So they're like really good role models. Like, I don't think I'd be like in the same place as I am right now without a CASA.
What are some things you guys are excited about? You said you mentioned you're going to school. What's next for you guys?
Back state too.
What are you majoring in?
English now. I do have a little bit of a background in criminal justice. I do want to minor in criminal justice if I'm able to, but it's an impacted major, so it's kind of harder to do that at Sac State. But I have talked to the board. Other than that, I really want to something that we talked about earlier with generational cycles and that being in care. That's something that my family went through. And I definitely want to highlight the different experiences and the similarities we've all had in care. I do want to analyze the generational cycles that take place in foster care. I've already started writing a few like chapters to it, but I do want a series where I kind of touch base on the different generations and what we've all gone through in my family. I also want to get a census of what other individuals might have gone through who have also gone through generational cycles in care with the child welfare system. I didn't notice it until I got into a space where we talked about it. It wasn't until I was a part of CYC that I kind of even noticed that that was a cycle that took place. I knew that there were generational cycles and traumas of other nature, but to identify that it was foster care and child welfare related specifically was very eye-opening for me. It was definitely one of those things where I was like, oh, that's weird, that's different. Lastly, I have hopes of starting a nonprofit. I definitely want to get an educational feel to it. I want to prioritize foster youth and undocumented youth, and I want to make a space where they can articulate their feelings and their emotions and just have like a space for writing. I feel like growing up, I didn't have that space. I always had an English teacher who was like, "This is great," but I never had that space where I could like really get out of my element. Creative writing wasn't something that was pushed in my school system.
Give them some advice on how to be a good advocate. What you needed.
They just treat him like a normal person, normal kid, and it should be okay.
Not to take it personal in like any context. Transitions are really hard for youth across all boards. I work with youth that are neurodivergent and have behaviors, and just transitions for them can be vastly different from a transition for me. Even as an adult, I have transitions where I'm like, oh, I really don't want to do that. Everything in life is a transition for foster youth. Unfortunately, it's going to be figuring out who you are, where you're going, what you're doing, and how you can be consistent with yourself because you haven't been granted consistency this entire way through. And that's what CASA is stepping for, is to offer that consistency, to be that one adult that's like, I have your back. And so I think that just not taking that personal, knowing that this is a transition period and we're getting to know each other.
I would say give them some time because sometimes they want to know if you'll stay with them no matter what, because usually people would leave them. So they want to make sure that you'll stay with them even if they don't want to see you for a little bit. Some youth have a lot of trauma too. So getting to know the right people is right.
I think kind of what Lucy just said, consistency is really important. I'm not a CASA yet, and
One day we'll get you.
one day I do plan to be a CASA. CYC keeps me very busy though. No, I think I've worked with a lot of young people. I'm a young person still myself, not as young as y'all, but I definitely have had that experience where I felt like an imposter. I felt like there's nothing I could say that would be the right thing for somebody that's going through what they're going through. You know, maybe I should just quit because I'm not good enough. Like, I definitely have those thoughts too. I'm always surprised with how, not to say I'm like super successful or anything, but like,
You are.
you know, I'm always surprised with how not easy, but how willing people are to allow you to get to know them if you put the time in, and when you're genuine, um, when you're transparent. You know, I tell people when I don't know the right thing to say, and although I don't have the same experience as everybody else does, just being able to be a safe space for them to share those experiences if they feel comfortable sharing them. Mental health first aid definitely helped me a lot with that too, because the conversations do get heavy, and as a supportive person, you want to help youth find some type of closure before you send them back into a situation where they might be re-triggered and things like that. So definitely recommend mental health first aid if it's a certification. I'm not sure if CASA offers that, but it can definitely be a resource to you if you feel uncomfortable having hard conversations, or you don't know what to do when someone starts sharing with you, because you never know when it's going to happen or when that comfortability will happen. But if you take the steps to educate yourself and to use the resources that are available to you, you'll feel a lot more confident in just navigating the unknown, and you know, being willing to get to know a young person that's still growing and still figuring out who they are. And the young person that you meet today might not be the same young person 6 months from now, and like, that's okay too. Like, being willing to accompany somebody as they are on that journey of change. And something that helps me is like, you know, I'm 32, so I'm not that old, but being in tune with, you know, when I was a younger person and the things that I was going through and the things that I was struggling with and how it felt. And I didn't have, I had my grandma, but I didn't have like a mentor or anything when I was growing up. So thinking about that person that I needed, sometimes that's not the best thing to do too, because you might project a little bit. Be consistent, be transparent, be willing, be accountable. It's heartbreaking to be told that somebody's going to come into your life to be support, and being told that over and over again, and then that doesn't come to fruition. So um you know, the biggest thing about consistency is at least do a little bit every day. So I'll leave with that.
Thank you.